Probably me, what I do in football, because it's a lot on your body. You know, Tony, he's a great player, but you got to do a lot in football.
Shannon, he was compared to Shohei Ohtani. Do you agree with Hunter there?
It's more physically demanding because, like you said, football is a more physically demanding sport than the game of baseball. But I think what Shohei is doing is more difficult because I think we can only chronicle maybe 2 players that did it at this level. That's Babe Ruth, that's Shohei Ohtani. We've seen a lot of, hell, Troy Brown played offense and defense for the Patriots. You remember that, Stephen A? You remember that, Ocho?
Yeah,
he was a wide receiver, and then he would come in on nickel packages and play over the slot. We saw Time do it. We saw Brian Jordan. Look, I've talked to 2 of the 5 greatest athletes I believe that's ever walked the face of the earth. That's Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders. And both of those guys say the hardest thing to do is to hit a baseball. Right now, nobody is hitting a baseball better than Shohei Ohtani. Now, they say, you know what, Shohei, we need you to take the mound. Now he's your number one pitcher on damn near any franchise. So to be the number 1 pitcher and the number 1 hitter, the overall best player in baseball, I think what Shohei is doing is far greater. Now, is it more physically demanding? No. But what Shohei is doing, for me, I believe is more difficult than what Travis is doing.
It's almost uncomparable. I got to get Travis Hunter in a batting cage. I got to get him in the batting cage. Not even anybody pitching, just the machine. Let a fastball come at you 95 miles an hour. Athletically gifted as you are, I want to see you try and hit it. So you get a better understanding.
Yeah.
The comparison is not even close. The 2 most difficult things in life are hitting the baseball and keeping a woman happy long term. The 2 most difficult things in life. You hear me? Very. So the fact they even compared the 2, now I understand. Listen, I understand it's physically grueling to be able to play both sides of the ball. And I don't think Travis Hunter also understands when you get to the NFL, everybody's elite. Everybody's great. Everybody's running 4.3. Everybody just as gifted as you are. So it's going to be a different ball game despite. But the one thing you do need that I love that Travis Hunter has, I got confidence.
Right.
I believe in me. I believe I can do it. So that alone got you ahead of the curve.
Listen, I think both you and Shay are right. It's obviously harder physically.
Yeah.
Physically, with what Travis Hunter's talking about, but when you're talking about skill-wise, what's more difficult is hitting the pitch. My only thing is, my only conflict with what Shannon had to say is when he talked about nobody's hitting the baseball better than Shohei Ohtani. Well, damn it, that ain't necessarily true. That damn Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts blasted my Yankees in the World Series better than Shohei Ohtani did. I wish they had hit like Shohei Ohtani did in the World Series. Yankees might be champions right now. That was not the case. Other than that, I have nothing more to say.
Freeman especially. Let me ask you this, Chad. Ocho, sorry. Do I have time to ask him or no? We got to keep it going. Okay. Do you think that Hunter should be a wide receiver, cornerback, or both in the NFL?
Look, he's so good. He's so gifted. I think he should play DB full-time and have packages at wide receiver. That's how dynamic he is. I don't think we've seen anything like this, obviously, since Charles Woodson. Deion Sanders did it. Champ Bailey was able to do it. But I think he's that much better on both sides of the ball. I'm hoping wherever he goes, understands what he wants, and they bless him with the opportunity to do so. Now, doing it full-time, every snap, can you imagine you covering Cheetah, you covering Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and then you go on the other side of the ball after 11, 12-play drive?
Yeah.
That's not happening. That's not happening.
Shannon?
I agree. I think he's better. I think right now as a receiver, a lot of his is athleticism. He's so physically gifted with his ability to jump, he has great hand-eye coordination. So I think he's better at a DB. And now we put packages in for him. He comes in on certain packages and we find a way to get him to football. But I definitely think he's a better DB. His ability to track the football, his ability to transition, get in and out of breaks, his route recognition, he's really good. He was tutored and coached up by one of the historically all-time great players at that position and his head coach in time. So I agree with Ocho. I think he's better at DB and now have them put packages because it's easier to put packages in for an offensive player than it is a defensive player, especially at that position.
Well, listen, I just don't think he should be playing every down. So I don't mind the packages as wide receiver. He just doesn't need to be playing every down. And I think that's what he's thinking. I'm saying, no, that should not be the case. Even the great Deion Sanders only caught a career 60 passes. Only caught 60 catches in his career. 36 as a Dallas Cowboy. keep it around that. Prioritize yourself as a defensive back and go from it from there. Have packages utilized for you as a wide receiver, but don't be an every down player. You won't last in the NFL doing that.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Kind of like what J.J. Watt. You remember J.J. Molly, y'all guys remember J.J. Watt? How he was a full-time defensive lineman, and then they bring him in on short yardage and goal line and throw him the ball, and he catch him a couple of touchdowns.
Yep. Yeah. Are the Rams the second best team in the NFC now with Stafford at quarterback?
Yeah, I think right now the only roster that I would say definitively is better is Philadelphia. Okay, so Rams got a great offensive line, elite defensive line. I think that defensive line will be top 3 by the end of next season. It's one of the best young ones. I think it'll be a top 5 to top 7 defense. Obviously, you got to get somebody opposite Puka Nacua with the desire to trade Cooper Kupp, and I think that they will. This organization drafts just about as good as anybody. The only team that I could definitively say is better is Philadelphia. Detroit in the convo, Green Bay in the convo, absolutely. But definitively, I'm not willing to say that either of those teams are better.
I'm giving you my Paul Heyman look. That's what I'm giving you. That's
Yeah.
nonsense. That's nonsense.
All right.
Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why.
I mean, you're wrong.
Let me tell you why.
You're wrong.
A healthy Detroit Lions? A Detroit Lions without 13 dudes on injured reserve?
Yeah, Dan.
A Detroit Lion
Don't worry.
with dual running backs, dual wide receivers, Laporte at the tight end spot,
Yes.
Goff, offensive line. You're telling me that the Rams are better than that?
Yes.
Go ahead, Ocho.
Listen, as much as I love you, you know, Eagles first. They're just
Yes.
coming off a chip.
Yep.
Rams third, because second is the Detroit Lions. Even with the injury, even with the injuries, offensively, they're still better
Yes.
than the Los Angeles Rams. And think about, he had no choice but to go to Los Angeles. What are you going to do with the Raiders?
Who had no choice?
Oh, Stafford. Where are you going? You going to the Raiders? You going to the
I don't
Giants?
think he wanted to, but
no,
he could've.
of course not.
Okay,
He could've-
so-
and done what
He would've been
exactly?
miserable
Okay,
in
so-
Vegas
Just
for
ask
the
two
me.
things.
Done what exactly?
Not
Okay.
had the
Okay.
opportunity that he has in LA.
Right.
Two things. Number one, Darius Slay, who's the future Hall of Fame corner for the
Yes.
Philadelphia Eagles, even said himself, they knew that the team, he said, talked about it in the game, the team that they were most worried about was the Los Angeles Rams. He said that like last week. So even the players knew it. Second thing is this. Y'all can talk about Detroit. I love Detroit, all that. One, does Hutch come back from the injury and be like Hutch? We'll find out, hopefully. Two, losing Ben Johnson has to matter a little bit in the conversation. Losing Ben Johnson has to be a part of it, because if he's as great as everybody says he is, and I love him, then that's going to be a decent amount of a loss,
that's-
and we'll
that's-
see what it plays out to
that's
be.
a good point.
Philly also loses Kellen Moore.
Ben Johnson
So-
point is
You're right. Shannon?
And they also lost AG. So they lost both coordinators. That means some of the coordinators,
Great
some of the
point.
defensive staff, and some of the offensive staff also went with Ben Johnson, also went with Aaron Glenn. But I agree with you, Dio. I think the Rams, based on what I saw defensively, when you look at them defensively, now they get Stafford back, and you're right, pair somebody else opposite of Nacua. They can run the football with Kyron Williams. Now, I don't think their offensive line is as good as Detroit, but it's plenty good enough. But with that being said, that was really the only team that had fear, that made the Eagles fearful, was the Rams. It's been a very good situation. But yeah, I agree with you, Dio. I think this is the second best team in the NFC right now, especially the way Stafford played, especially the last 10 weeks of the season. He was as good as anybody in that conference. Yeah, I think the Rams are to be reckoned with.
I don't
Philly
know
is
who
the
this guy
best,
is.
head and shoulders above everybody else, but then I would take the Rams followed closely by Detroit.
I don't know who this guy is today. You know, with the whole Sam Darnold, Aaron Rodgers, now the Rams are the second best. I told them that last year. Philadelphia beat the Rams because of 22 yards, essentially. If that sack doesn't happen, I think the Rams win that game on 3rd and 2. Then they go beat their next two opponents by 50. Yeah. So there's a decent gap with how loaded their roster is. But the one team that has a roster, I don't want to say comparable, that can sniff it, and then the quarterback coach that can minimize it, I think it's the Rams.
Yeah, you know what? I think the Rams are exactly. I love what you're saying, but again, they still are the third best team in the NFC.
You think Detroit?
I absolutely.
And you don't care about both.
All right, if you're telling me the coordinator,
listen,
that's fine. I'm just telling you their roster. I think their roster is better than LA's. But if you want to bring up the coordinator and how disruptive that can be, the Eagles themselves have proven that after they won the Super Bowl. After they lost the Super Bowl, they lost both of their coordinators.
But I have a question. The coordinator, Ben Johnson, goes to Chicago, right?
Yes, sir.
What if the offense doesn't change? The offense not changing. you're only good as your supporting cast. So you still have the same players there. And you have bringing a different coordinator with the same
Play calling
Play
matters.
call
players.
doesn't matter, Chad.
If you have the same players,
I'm not going to say they're going to go from top 5 offense to bottom 5.
Absolutely not, because you still have the same supporting cast. So regardless of who has the controller,
but
you still got the same players, you're getting the same results.
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead, Shannon.
Look at the Eagles. Look at the Eagles, the play caller that they got before Kellen Moore. Now, Saquon made a big world of a difference, but play calling matters. It absolutely 1,000% it matters. With how you set guys up, how you call the game, moving forward from first to the second to the third to the fourth quarter, down in distance, last 5 minutes of the game, situations, that absolutely matters. Now, we might say Detroit, you might think Detroit, but I don't think Detroit's defense is as good as the Rams. Absolutely not. That's not even close. Even healthy, their defense, they were giving up a lot of points. Now, they did a great job of taking it away. But if you look at the Rams and what they have from a defensive line perspective and DBs, nah. I will say Detroit's offense. When you look at that two-headed monster, they got Amon-Ra St. Brown, they got Laporta, and they got Jameson Williams. They got 2 running backs. Offensive line is solid. I like Goff. I don't like Goff more than I like Matthew Stafford. That's me personally, but I like the Rams.